When you say Nothing Phone 2, the design is the first thing you're going to think of. The Phone 2 looks unique, sure, and we've seen a whole lot of hype surrounding it. The glyphs, the tones, and so on. What happens when you look past all that? Let's find out. Hey guys, Ash here, and I've been using this Nothing Phone 2 as my primary for almost a month now. And today on C4E Tech, let's see how, once the dust has settled, the Nothing Phone 2 holds up. For protection, we get Gorilla Glass 5 to both the front and back, and there's a decent oleophobic coating. So the back does not pick up way too many fingerprints. And even when it does, given how busy this back is, you don't really notice them. It, at the very least, gives off an appearance of looking clean. The frame, on the other hand, it picks up no fingerprints whatsoever. This is aluminum here with a matte finish. Now nothing's gone for an IP54 rating with this phone, so it should be able to take a few splashes. That said, I would have loved to see a IP67 rating here. Now the edges, they are squared off, and add to it the lack of a curved display. The phone too, it's not very easy to use single-handed. The weight and the thickness are reasonable. In fact, the back even slightly curves to make the phone 2 feel slimmer than it actually is. But overall, the phone 2 isn't exactly what you'd call comfortable, but the materials, the build, it does look and feel premium. Now with the display, nothing has gone for a 6.7-inch panel. It's 10-bit OLED with a Full HD Plus resolution and a 120Hz refresh. There's also LTPO technology to intelligently vary that refresh rate as per requirement for battery efficiency. Now there are phones in this segment that offer 1.5K resolutions, but I don't think resolution is a big deal here. You don't really see pixels, everything looks sharp, and this also happens to be quite a bright panel. The 1600 nit peak, now that's something you will notice when you use the phone 2 outdoors. So there are things this panel does slightly better than the competition. There are a few things it does slightly worse. The biggest factor is where you stand on the flat versus curved display argument. Now if you're a fan of curved panels, this is not gonna cut it for you. But if you like flat displays, I'm sure you're gonna appreciate the phone 2 and the minimal uniform bezels that it has on offer. Now these numbers you're seeing here, this brings us to factor number 6, performance. Under the hood, the phone 2 is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is Qualcomm's flagship chip for 2022. So yes, this phone is not packing the latest silicon, but I don't think that's something I ever really noticed or regretted when using the phone 2. I moved over to this from the S23 Ultra. Before that, I was using the Mix Fold 3, both 8 Gen 2 phones. And I can honestly say the Nothing Phone 2 felt faster than both these phones that I just mentioned. Of course, I'm not saying the phone 2 is gonna actually perform better than them, because when you run the numbers, when you play some intensive games, you are gonna notice a difference. But for the vast majority of use cases, the phone 2 gives you a very flagship experience. And that is factor number 5, the experience. I'm sure by this time you're tired of hearing people talk about the glyph composer, the Uber arrival timer, etc. I mean, they are nice, sure, but they're also pretty much novelty features at this point. Honestly, once I was done with my initial coverage of the phone 2, I found myself playing around with the glyphs lesser and lesser. Now, despite not actually using these features, once that nothing's hyped up so much, I'd still say the phone 2's UX is one of my favorites today. Just look at this. It's clean, it's quick, it's responsive. It feels so refined and optimized. And these monochrome icons, I ended up loving them. Like Arun said in his video, it didn't stop me from launching the apps I regularly do. But once I got out of those apps, the moment where my brain goes, I'm bored, what else to do? It's at this point that it helped me from getting distracted and jumping into something else. And after my initial video, there was an update that kind of got all icons monochrome, so no weird theming misses anymore. And talking about updates, yes, nothing have been constantly updating the phone 2, fixing bugs, improving performance, and they are promising 3 years of Android version updates, 4 years of security patches, which I think is solid. These days, pretty much any Android that's not a Fold comes with at least a 5000 mAh battery. The phone too has 4700 mAh. So I went in with my expectations tempered, but I did walk away pleasantly surprised. The battery life on the phone too was amazing. I had no issues going through full days on a single charge, even with heavy use. The battery life on this phone was actually good. But that is our factor number 3.
What's in the box?
The answer to that is nothing. Almost. There is a phone, yeah, but there's no included case, there's no charger. For example, the OnePlus 11R that retails for a similar price, and most times it's cheaper than the phone too, that comes with an included case, a 100-watt charger in the box. Now, to be fair, the phone 2 does offer a few quality of life conveniences like wireless charging at up to 15 watts, reverse wireless charging at up to 5 watts. But the fact that there's nothing in the box kind of leaves a sour taste in the mouth. Now, the charging itself is not super fast, it's 45 watts, so faster than an iPhone, and it can get from 0 to 100 in under an hour, so pretty decent. Now this is the big one, the cameras. There are only 2 to the back. The primary is a 50 megapixel Sony IMX890 that's been paired with an optically stabilized f1.9 lens. Now at launch, nothing talked a big game about how they've optimized the cameras, but initially I wasn't all that impressed. But this is one of those areas that nothing's been continuously improving with updates. Now the last 2 pictures that you saw, these were all 2x crops shot right off the phone too. They look quite nice, right? So now with the full images, whether it's detail or that dynamic range, the phone 2 offers a pretty solid experience here. And by that, I don't mean to say it's competing with the iPhone 15s or the S23s, but for its price, for its segment, it's gotten to the point where I can call it excellent. There's been a major improvement in camera performance in the last few months. Even with low light images, just see how clean it is. There's still reasonable detail, but little to no noise. And here's where I actually use the glyph lights a lot. You don't really want to be using a flash when you're taking pictures of your pets if you wanted their eyes to be open. And given I have 2 very cute kittens in the house at this point, I shot them so much. And the results have been very good. Video tops out at 4K 60, the quality, the detail, the dynamic range, the stability, it's all pretty good. In case it wasn't obvious, this is being shot. This footage you're seeing is straight out of the Nothing Phone 2. The audio too, it's totally not been touched. I've not done any kind of processing on it. On the selfie side of things, we are sadly restricted to 1080-60. The footage looks good, yes, but they have a 32 megapixel sensor here, so why 1080? Now the images themselves came out quite nicely. Again, this is something that's gotten noticeably better since launch. See how the brighter background is still kept properly exposed in the shot? Nothing's done well. Now this one is a little bit of a mixed bag for me. Globally, the asking price of $599, not bad given the competition. It's cheaper than most flagships, so the pricing kind of feels competitive. But in markets like India, where the competition is a lot stronger, where you have something like the 11R again, that's cheaper, offers a case, a 100-watt charger in the box, that's where the 45,000 rupee asking price might feel a little too high. Now that said, the phone 2 has had its price cut for certain sales, so if you do end up finding it at that price, I'd call it pretty competitive. Because even when we look past the hype, the phone 2 seems to be a very solid device with excellent support, very good cameras, and excellent user experience with a build that's quite unique. So that's my take on the phone 2. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Bye bye.